Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this episode, we're going back. We're going back 30 years. On February 25th, 1992, TLC, the group, dropped their debut album, Ooh, on the TLC Tip. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to break down, we're going to talk about the impact of the album. We talk about, the songs and what we thought about the album, maybe some of our favorite songs and maybe songs we didn't like, maybe songs we probably think shouldn't have been on the album. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe because the podcasts are now on YouTube. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we have a guest. Now, if you click the audio, we got a guest. But the guest is no stranger to the show, good friend of the show. She is the host of Jay's Quick 3. My girl, JBoog. JBoog is in the building. Jay, what up?
What's going on? 12 Kyle fam and newly YouTube watchers. What's up?
Not too much. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being on here. I always love being on your show. So it's a big deal to me. So I'm really excited.
Stop. Making me blush. For those of you who don't know, if you've been following the podcast, you know that Jay came on and we did a three-peat on TLC. And I told you in that episode, and I'm going to say it again for those who missed that episode, JBoog is actually the fourth member of TLC. So this is going to be like a trip down memory lane. But it's hard to believe, like, Jay, can you believe this album's turning 30 years old?
No, when you said that, I was like, what TLC album's turning 30? Because it's not been that long. No, it's not.
It's been
I looked, I was like, yes, it has. 92.
30 years. Yeah, 1992. Wow. Ooh, on the TLC Tip. Again, the debut album from TLC. So let's go back. 1992 was a crazy year in particular for hip hop because so many things were going on. That was when you started to see the shift in music as far as wherein in the 80s, late 80s, you had the Black Power movement as far as rap and hip hop was concerned. And then by the time we got to the 90s and 92, obviously later in that particular calendar year, the Chronic dropped. And but we just saw this movement in hip hop of West Coast dominance, if you will, G-Funk, if you will. The R&B side was different too, but right there in the middle was this girl group from Atlanta. And I was like blown away the first time I saw them because I didn't really know how to classify them. They really weren't R&B, but then they really weren't hip hop either. They were kind of like a mixture of both because they could sing and they could rap, or one could rap, and they all looked good. And we were like mesmerized by their looks and everything. So, young guys, we're superficial like that. But tell me about your first memories, your first thoughts of TLC, and then we'll talk about the album.
I think I had said this before somewhere, but when I first saw TLC, it was their video, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Okay. And, it's bright colors. That's when cross colors was like the big thing. And I was trying to think, I don't remember a lot of girl groups before them as far as like who was popular then besides like In Vogue. I know they were probably like Sister was like Flash in the Pan, Missy's group and stuff like that, but you didn't really, and they were supposed to be like the girl Jodeci.
Right.
But I don't know if they came before or after TLC, but it was somewhere around that same time. But
right around the time,
you didn't see anybody like this. So when I saw it, I was like, who is this? They have this ticker going across the bottom, ATL, and all this smooth R&B with rap and hip hop and all this stuff. And I'm like, who is this group? And they have condoms on and big baggy clothes. And I was like, that's okay. Like I like it, but I wasn't like really catching on yet. I just thought it had been so many groups that were coming and going during that time. Like I said, I think In Vogue and maybe a couple of other groups were the only ones that really had some longevity that were really doing something. So, and plus early 90s, you're going, it's leaving from the 80s, a lot of gimmicky type of things. So you just didn't know what you were going to get. And so I was like, okay, I like this group. It didn't hit me until the second video. I don't know what it was about the second video, Baby, Baby, Baby. But I was like, I like this group. I need to go to Atlanta and audition and be a part of this group because they're on to something. I don't know what it is, but they're on to something. Like, I think the first single was kind of, I don't know. I think it was something just to get people's attention. I don't think it was like a solid like single. I think they did that on purpose, just like this is just, let's just grab people's attention. But when they did Baby, 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 it's kind of slow. You can hear their vocals. It was, and then they're on a Black campus. I think they were on Spelman's campus. But then I was like, okay, these girls actually have like real talent. Like this is dope. And it was a wrap from there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that with you. I remember seeing the video, and for some reason, I bought the tape. I don't know why I bought the tape, but I bought the tape because it was like, okay, they seem kind of cool. And the video was just so different because, like you said, they had these baggy, these loud colors and these baggy clothes, and they had condoms on the clothes. And I'm like, and they weren't bashful about it at all. And what we didn't see at that particular time was women who kind of express their sensuality and their sexuality up front, like in your face. Like even as sexy as I thought Salt and Pepper was, it was never like boom, like we're in your face type thing. It was just, it was more subtle than anything else because Salt and Pepper were, we kind of viewed them as B girls, and then, to coincide with B boys, but Salt and Pepper they were dope. And with TLC, it was like, wow, okay, this is different. Like that's the only thing I can say. Like they were different. And I remember going to get the tape, and I remember I got the tape on sale. That's one. There's two things that stand out to me about my TLC purchases. I bought the first, the Ooh on the TLC tip I bought that on sale, and then later when I bought Crazy Sexy Cool, that was the first CD that I ever purchased. And that was, and I went from CD, and I played that CD, and I talked about it before, but I played that CD forever, like to the point where like their faces were scratched off the CD. but yeah, it was I just remember getting that tape, and I think the video led me to getting the tape because we hadn't seen anything, and it wasn't like they blew me away, like just blown away as far as like this was something just totally different, but they were different. They were confident. And, that resonated with me. I was just like, oh, this is kind of wild. And then once I got the tape, I was like, okay, yeah, they're legit. Do you remember like your first thoughts when you got their tape or CD? I'm assuming you got the tape too.
I have the tape. I was trying to find that for the show. I know I have the tape. I don't know if it's here at my parents' house because my stuff is spread all over between there and here. But I couldn't find the tape. I do have the CD thing behind me. But you said when did I get it, or what did I think when I first got it?
What did you think like when you first got it? Like your first impressions of what you were hearing for the first time?
I mean, I don't think I had heard an album that was non-skip for me. Like, even though you don't think about that because we let the tape play, it wasn't any skips back then. You just had to listen to it because it was a tape. So you weren't going to fast forward because if you go too far, now you got to rewind. So you just let the tape play. But I was just blown. I mean, every single song was like better than the next song. When I would hear it. And I think I got the tape. I know I got the tape right when Baby, Baby, Baby came out. I got the single and then I bought the tape. So I was, I don't think they hadn't had all their singles out. It was just those two. And those are the two well, Ain't Too Proud to Beg is like the first real song on there. Baby Baby is on the second side. I remember the
Mhm.
sides, but
Shout out
um,
to the A side and B side.
yes, but yeah, it was. I was blown away because I hadn't heard anything like that. You have T-Boz singing like low, which wasn't like
Mhm.
common. Chili was
Mhm.
just like the regular normal R&B, and then you got Left Eye rapping her face off all throughout
Right.
this album.
Right.
It was kind of a mix of like they used to call it like a New Jill swing. It was like the female version of New Jack swing. So it
Mhm.
was just a different sound. And you got all these different producers on there, Jermaine Dupri and Babyface, L.A. Reid, Marley Marl. Like you mix all those people together, Left Eye, all together on that one album. It's something I had never heard. I wore that thing. That's probably why I can't find the tape. It's probably broken, but I bought the CD when that finally came out on CD. But
Yeah. You
crazy.
you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to talk a little bit. We can talk a little bit about the production. You mentioned, I mean, they had some heavy hitters on it. Of course, this album was produced on the LaFace Records label, the record label that was run by LA and Babyface. At the time, they were in Atlanta, but Dallas Austin produced on this album. Babyface, Jermaine Dupri, you mentioned,
Hmm.
Marley Marl, the legendary Marley Marl, hip hop producer.
Hmm.
Of course, L.A. Reid, Daryl Simmons, and KO, just to name a few.
Yep.
As far as the production, what did you think about the production? Because this was different when you're meshing, like you said, kind of like a new Jill swing. What did you think about the production on the album?
I mean, it wasn't anything, like I said, it wasn't anything that I had heard before, but it worked for them. You know what I'm saying? It's what kind of stood like where are you gonna find an album that has Babyface and Jermaine Dupri and Molly Mall? Like those are so different, and Dallas Austin all mixed in and it works.
Right.
Like whatever Babyface wrote or produced wasn't like lacking or not or standing out from what they call them D-Rock and KO would produce or Jermaine
Hmm.
Dupri would produce. It kind of all meshed together. Um it wasn't like a bad song in there to me. Like all the production value was pretty dope for a brand new group. These weren't previous artists, and for
Right.
them to, of course they were on LaFace, so they were going to get, Babyface and stuff like that. But and he was at the top of the charts around
Yeah.
that time. He was somebody big, and
Yeah.
Dallas Austin was a huge producer. Jermaine Dupri was just starting, just coming up. But like to have those heavy hitters on an album for a brand new group, and it is seamless between all the songs, like it was dope.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I think that was one of the things that, as I went back and was listening to this album again, getting ready for this review, um, I went and looked at it. I was like, like you almost forget who all produced on the album. And I remember that, listening to it, and I remember Left Eye shouting out Marley Marl. I was like, damn, Marley Marl did produce on this. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's crazy when you think about it, because like I'm always, when I think about Marley Marl, the legendary hip hop producer, I'm thinking about Big Daddy Kane. I'm thinking about, Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim. I'm thinking about all of these legendary hip hop groups that he produced for, or artists that he produced for, and to get him on, a debut R&B, album from these three girls from Atlanta who nobody knew really,
Mhm.
and
Right.
like you said, it was on LaFace, so I guess that probably gave them some cachet, if you will, but that was still major. I mean, like to have, because most people who are creating don't get those kind of producers on their first album. Maybe their second or third,
Right.
but
Right.
your first album out the gate, I mean, you got some heavy hitters. So um I enjoyed the production on this. I think one of the things that stood out to me about the production was, like you mentioned, it was, everything was in the pocket and it fit. It didn't sound too overproduced. Um, you know, it can be difficult sometimes trying to mesh Chili's high and I was about to call it Tion.
T-Bot. Oh,
T-Bot.
Tion. Okay.
I called her Tion on a podcast before, and they accused me of knowing her. I don't know her like that, but
Tion.
but people that know her call her Tion. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I just slipped and called it Tion. But anyway, so with the group TLC, it is, and that was. Oh, let me go back before I finish answering that.
Okay.
TLC. I always thought it was T-Boz, Left Eye, and Chili.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. That's not what TLC stands for.
That's what it stands for. But they also, I don't know where you're going with it, but they also called themselves the Tittyless Crew.
Oh, okay.
That's not what they went through, but they would like make fun of themselves because
Okay.
they were
Okay.
young back then, 18, 19, 20. And because they wore the big baggy clothes, they just said that like TLC stood for these different things.
Okay.
People
Gotcha.
call them Talentless Crew and all that stuff, but it stood for T-Boz, Left Eye, and Chili. Did you hear
Okay.
something different?
Yeah, I read. I can't. It might have been on, and I'll look it up before we get off this podcast. It was T-Boz, Left Eye, and the C was something else, or was it?
Well, originally, so when TLC first became a group, it was T-Boz, Left Eye, and there was a girl in a group called Chili. So it was actually Tion, Lisa, and Crystal was TLC.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Crystal. Okay.
But then when they
Okay.
got their stage names, they kicked Crystal out for whatever reason. They got Chili, whose real
They
name
ain't
is
show up.
Rosanda.
They ain't show up.
Right. Rosanda doesn't really fit with
Right.
Tion and Lisa. So they changed her name to Chili, and they said T-Boz because she was kind of like the boss of the group. Left Eye, she always said because the eye is right, but she was kind of like the brainchild behind TLC. But that came
See?
from the original names. Okay, you got me thinking a little bit. Yeah.
See, y'all. This is why she's on it. This is why I told y'all she was the fourth member, because I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Okay.
I just, and when I saw it, because I've always heard them refer to T-Boz, Left Eye, and Chili, and then when I read it, I was like, wait a minute, who is this other person? I was
Crystal.
like, I
Yeah.
never heard of no Crystal. T-Boz, Left Eye, and Crystal. No, that don't fit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, who is that? Is that a stage manager, somebody? But yeah, I thought that, getting back to the producer side, I thought it was really, really dope. And like I said, being able to mesh T-Boz's her low alto sound, and Chili's higher pitched voice. And then, like you said, Left Eye rapping. It's not easy to put a group together where you have two people singing and one person rapping, because you're going to want the person who's rapping to rap more. And I even had, going back and listening to this, I had a little revelation, something that I picked up, and I'll talk about it a little later. Something that I picked up on that I didn't pick up on probably as I was listening to, back then. But you mentioned the singles. Ain't Too Proud to Beg was their first lead single that was released November 22nd of 1991. So that was out before the album came out. Programming note, kids at home. They used to have singles, and the singles would come out long before the album came out. So that was kind of like to drum up the publicity for the album. That's
now I do have some singles on tape in there in the closet. I didn't grab them out.
What? You still got the singles?
I got like 3 boxes of tapes in there of just singles.
Jay, I
and
can't find one tape.
I
know
don't
I got
know.
some at my
I'm
mom's
a hoarder. I think I'm a musical hoarder because I have like magazines and everything in there.
I got magazines, and I have a box of, I've got 3 boxes of CDs in my garage. But but I just what I'm gonna play them on, I mean, I can play them in the car, I guess, but that's about it. Yeah, there's no place else to play them other than that in the computer. True. But yeah, it's so that was Ain't Too Proud to Beg was the lead single that came out November 22nd of 1991. Then the aforementioned Baby Baby Baby, that came out after the album was released. That was May 29th, 1992. Then the third song that was released was What About Your Friends? That was released August 28th, 1992. And then Hat to the Back, September 3rd of 1992. Now this album peaked at number 14. It was certified quadruple platinum. It sold through the roof. And I think one of the things that people really gravitated towards was, their persona, their in your face, but it wasn't like over the top, like somebody trying to sell something and they're just over the top with it. They were subtle, but they were in your face. And the whole condoms and sexual, and we hadn't seen anything like that before. And again, I think one of the things that helped them stand out was that you really didn't know what kind of category to put them in, because keep in mind, even a song like Ain't Too Proud to Beg got major airplay on BET, but it also got play on MTV as well. So that was wild for them to be on MTV. So releasing those 4 singles, that kind of propelled them and pushed them into superstardom, if you will. Before we get into the tracks, I know I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the documentary. There was a couple of, it was about 5-6 years ago, I guess. It was a documentary. I don't even want to call it a documentary. It's probably more of a biopic.
A movie?
Yeah,
the VH1.
I didn't
biopic,
see it. I heard a lot of bad things about it. Was it that bad, or what was your take on it?
I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I mean, you have
But
to.
you were there, JBoog.
I was there, so yeah. But I mean, it's a VH1, or
Right.
you got to think if it's a Lifetime or VH1 or whatever. Like, there's only so much that they can do. You know what I'm saying? So, I think they tried their best to like hit the major points of it, but I thought it was good. It was Drew Sidora, I think, was T-Boz. Keke Palmer was Chili, and Lil Mama was Left Eye. She did a great job. Like, I personally, I don't like her, but as her being Left Eye, she really did a really good job portraying her. But from everything that I can remember, because obviously I was around for that, it was pretty much true. I mean, they were involved in it. It was pretty much true, true to life of the things that they went through. Some of the stuff that I didn't quite know about, like Left Eye's, like things that she was battling, because you back in our day, and I hate to sound like an old person, we didn't know things that
We
weren't
old,
printed
Jay.
in.
We old.
Right.
It's okay. We're seasoned.
We're
Seasoned
seasoned,
vets.
right?
That's what we call ourselves. Seasoned vets.
Social media wasn't even thought of. There was no way for you to have full access to artists. You didn't know what they didn't tell you. Even if they printed certain things in magazines, you didn't really know if that was 100% true. So some stuff we just didn't know as a public, like some of the things that Left Eye was dealing with. And of course, she had her own documentary a little bit, well, before that. But it was just to kind of see those things that she was battling. But some of the things that we knew, like they were bankrupt, like they were giving all these advances and doing all this stuff. And then the companies like recouping, and Pebbles and LA pretty much sucking them dry. They had a sucky, album deal, which a lot of new artists do. So even though they were selling all these records, even into Crazy Sexy Cool, they weren't really making any money. They were winning Grammys and all this stuff, but they didn't have any money to show for it, because they were paying lawyers and the label and all these other things, and paying for their tours and all that stuff. So it was cool to see that. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I mean, I'm not saying I would watch it all the time, but I was happy to see it. I knew that T-Boz and Chili were involved in it, so it just made me want to, I knew everything in there they were talking about was true. So I didn't think it was bad, but it's VH1, so it's not going to be like a blockbuster hit,
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like I said, I didn't see it, but I just remember people on Twitter talking about it and they didn't like it or whatever. I was like, well, it's okay
for them.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times it's really kind of hard to connect to some of the younger audiences too, because they just, like you said, you can't conceive the idea of that era, because in a lot of ways, and I hate to tell people this sometimes, but you had to be there. Like I could tell you about how it was without the internet, but for some stuff you just had to be there. So but the tracks on this album is 55 minutes long, and I actually going back and listening to it, because I'll be honest with you, I had not listened to this album all the way through probably in a couple of years. Because Crazy Sexy Cool is my joint. That's gosh, I love that. I mean, I love both of these albums, but Crazy Sexy Cool is, I mean, it's the first CD I bought. So I mean, like, hey, I mean, you talking to
It's
somebody who's
sentimental.
it's exactly. I mean, like, you know me, Jay. I'm
Mhm.
hip hop all day. And the
Right.
first CD that I bought with my own money was Crazy Sexy Cool. It was
That's
I
why
ain't
it's a
even
diamond record.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even I ain't even buy Illmatic on CD before I bought Crazy Sexy Cool first. So
That's dope.
um
So I got
ah
that. That's
for
what the
those of you
album
who are
cover
watching,
looked like.
she has the album cover.
I'm gonna have to take the light off a little bit so y'all can
Okay.
see.
That's dope. That's dope.
And the CD.
Oh, there's the CD. Wow. Ooh, on
But
the
yeah.
TLC tip. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel if you want to see what it looks like. Um, so yeah, 55 minutes. Um, it it flows. It doesn't feel like it's 55 minutes. And what I did was, Jay, the first two times that I listened to the album all the way through, I didn't look at the tracks. I was like, let me just see if I can remember what's next. And I actually did. And that just goes to show you, just from all the time, like you said, when you got the tape, you know, we just listened to the tape all the way through, because you just like you mentioned earlier, you can't just fast forward, even if it's a song that you don't particularly care for. You know, you just sit through it until your favorite song comes on. Um, so the song starts off with an intro, and the intro is like a little skit. And TLC has some great skits. Uh, I like this intro. I think it's very fitting. Uh, or just on a personal note, the skit on the Crazy Sexy Cool album, one of my all-time favorite skits. But that's how it starts. It starts off with the intro skit, and then we get into Ain't Too Proud to Beg. What did you think about Ain't Too Proud to Beg?
Like I said, it was kind of like a starter for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it probably wasn't my favorite on the album, because when they did come out with this, it was over and over and over and over again. I was a BET watcher, so every
Yes,
time
yes.
Video Soul, Video Vibrations, all they didn't have 106 in Park back then. Video Soul was the countdown, but over and over and over and over again. When the channels used to show videos, so it
Yes.
was like 24/7. And then you flip to MTV, you'll see them on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew tired of it because I didn't like it as much
Okay.
as the other songs. But I mean, on the album, it was a great starter, because that intro kind of takes you into it, because it's a guy saying, like, I don't really know what these girls are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're trying to be trendy. I guess they're trying to be, something that nobody else has seen before. I don't know. I think they're cute. And then it goes, right
Yep.
into the song where, Left Eye's
Mm-hmm.
introing the song. So I thought it was a good start. Good start
Yeah,
to
I
listen
agree
to the
totally.
album.
I think it's a really good start to the album, particularly when you transport yourself back into 1992. Again, that's 30 years. It's still crazy to say that. It's 30 years ago, but when you
How
transport
is
back,
it 30 years ago? I'm only 25. How does
I,
that work?
Jay, I don't know.
Are
I
you
don't know.
sure?
That's what it says. It says that right here,
Okay,
1990.
all right, I'll take your word for it.
You were 2 years old when it came out. So yeah, I liked it. What's interesting, and I thought about it as I was listening to it. Like, Ain't Too Proud to Beg is probably one of the few songs that I've heard. When I'm doing these reviews, a lot of times I'll go back and listen to it, and I'm like, yeah, that was one of the more popular songs. I don't particularly care for it now. Like, it got old, or it got tired, or I just didn't like it, or whatever. But I still don't have a problem. And I guess maybe because I never got to that point where I got tired of it or whatever. Because listening to it all these years, you can get tired of a song quick.
Yeah.
No matter how much you liked it back then. But I'm with you. I thought it was a really good lead off to the album. Track number 3, Shock That Monkey.
My jam. My jam.
Talk to me about Shock That Monkey.
They just talking they're talking that talk on Shock That Monkey. Like, don't bother me. Like, I'm doing my thing. Like, you gotta they used to call them nickels back then. You gotta let these
Yeah.
nickels know. That was
Yeah,
one thing about
instead of using the N
TLC.
word.
Yeah, they were very creative with their words. Most of the time it was
Mhm.
stuff that Lisa had wrote or whatever, or Left Eye had wrote, but they were clever with the words. So it was cool
Mhm.
to see something like that. But um they were showing like independence. Like you didn't really
Yes.
get that from girl groups during that time, like assertive and this is who I am and you're not going to tell me what to do, and shock that monkey, get him off your back, do your thing, like don't let him hold you down. So I love this song, and just it's a hype song. It's upbeat. This
Mhm.
is 90s, so it wasn't a lot of slow jams.
No,
It was
no.
more upbeat. You're gonna get up and dance and stuff. It had that kind of that groove to it.
Mhm.
I
Oh, no
enjoyed it.
doubt, no doubt. Um, when this song, I think the first, I don't know, first couple of listens I heard, I was like, "Shock that monkey." I was like, I didn't particularly care for it, right?
Hmm.
But after a while, it really grew on me. I was like, you know what? This shit, all right. And it quickly became one of those joints where I look forward to listening to it. And but like you said, it's a hype song, and I enjoyed it. And even going back and listening to it again, I'm like, I really remember why and when I started liking it. You know, cause
Hmm.
then I started thinking back, like, damn, why you didn't like this at the beginning? So
Right.
um but yeah, it was really a really good song. A really, again, I think a really good lead off package for the album. Then you get into track 4, which is the intermission, which is another skit.
The whole
The,
remover.
yep, remo-
Just a sprinkle a day. Watch that whole fade away. Have you has your hope been sprinkled today?
yes, has your whole been sprinkled today, and that was a play on a commercial that was out. I don't know when that commercial was out when we were little, I think. I just remember
Mm.
hearing that commercial before. But yeah, that was funny. That was funny. I enjoyed that intermission skit. Um then track 5 we get into Hat to the Back, Pants Down Real Low. Talk to me about Hat to the Back.
Okay. This is by far one of my favorite videos by them,
Mhm.
because I I don't know what it was about this song. It was just a dope song. They did really well. I mean, this is their introduction to music, their first album. So they did really well with like showcasing Chili. She was always like the R&B
Mhm.
girl. T-Boz
Mhm.
was always kind of the lead vocalist and leading the song off, and you always had Left Eye dropping some rhymes. So they did that well throughout the album without making it sound tired.
Right.
But with this particular video, something about the video was just dope. Like they had on these Carhartt jackets. My dad was he had his own construction company, so all he wore is Carhartt. So I stole
Mhm.
like a bunch of his jackets. I
What?
had him going to school, and that's when they were, big and baggy was in. So even though I'm wearing this giant jacket, everybody's like, "Oh, she got the new Carhartt." I'm like, "Yep, yep." Got my high tech boots on.
Oh
Um,
shit.
but in this video was the first time we saw them in dresses. So this is their
Mhm.
last single, even though it's the fourth, song or, track on the album.
Mhm.
Um, they were kind of showing everybody. There was a guy that was imagining like what would they look like without these baggy clothes. And you can see they're they're pretty girls. They look
Right.
good. They look
Right.
good in these dresses. So I was freaking out. I remember I saw it and I called my friend like, "Girl, did you see that video? Girl, did you see T-Boss? T-Boss up there wearing dresses, girl. Yes, turn to BET. It's gonna come back on in 2 hours. Turn to
Right.
BET. Because
Because it was gonna come back
you had
on.
that, it's gonna come back on when the replay came back on. But turn to that channel, watch it. I'm telling you. And we were like freaking out because we had, for 3 singles, 3 videos we had never seen. We didn't see what they
Mhm.
looked like. And just for that flash, you were able to see that. So that was blowing my mind. I don't know. I guess as I was a kid, 14, 13 years old. I'm like,
Mhm.
blowing my mind. Oh my God, look at them. So they can be, sexy and just, one of the guys, because they would always say that. Like we can kick it with the guys, but we can also be sexy, as a woman as well. So I always love that song because of just that video and looking at the visual. I thought T-Boz was so hard. I thought I was T-Boz. So I had my sunglasses. I had my Carhartt.
What?
I wanted a black jacket so bad because of that video. He only had the brown ones. I'm like, can you
Okay.
go get some black jackets? Cause like I need to, I need to like make this realistic. He
Mhm.
was like, girl, if you don't get out of my face.
I know that's right.
But yeah, I love this song. Plus it was a good song. Pretty much it's just saying this is the kind of girl I am. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave
Like
it.
I'm just gonna wear my hat to the back, keep my pants down real low. I'm not worried about what everybody else is doing. Again, just being assertive. And that was sort of kind of giving confidence to women out there to let them know we can be sexy, yes, but you don't have to be what this status quo is of what the, society wants us to be. So I thought it was a dope message and a dope song.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks on the album. Um, they were I like the beat, and then I like how they were blending in MC Light saying "shut the fuck up" in the background.
Mhm.
I thought that was so dope. And when I like you when I saw the video, I was like, oh, because it's like as from a guy's perspective, we knew they were fine, or at the very least, I like all the dude. I don't know nobody that wasn't checking for like TLC like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
everybody, and you might have had one you was checking for a little bit more than the other, but everybody was checking for all the girls in the group. And so when we get the glimpse of them in the dress, we're like, wait a minute. So now it all kind of makes sense now. Now it's like, okay, they came out with these other videos and they're in these baggy clothes and stuff like that. And they're really concealing their bodies. And, they wanted us to see them for who they were.
Mhm.
They wanted us to see them for the talent that they had.
Mhm.
And it wasn't about necessarily showing you what they had as far as their bodies were concerned. Yeah, okay, they're your dope, cool homegirl. If you can get to her body, then cool. But she's cool in the Carhartt or whatever like that, and that was chill. And like they said, you could kick it with them like that, or kick it on some romantic type stuff. But they were just regular roundabout chicks, and for most guys that was appealing, particularly in 1992. I'll just be
Mhm.
honest, because we didn't need all of the weave and all of that stuff like that. Um, Shout
And
out
they
to
didn't have that then.
right.
Now that I think about it, Left Eye always wore her hat in her hair in a bun with that bang.
Mhm.
T-Boz had the ill shortcut,
Shortcut.
and
Yep.
Chili just had her natural hair. But yeah, they
Mhm.
never really got into that.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks on the album. And I just when I was playing it, I was like, wow. I was like, man, it's taking me back. Cause it's like, you know how it is when you listen to something that's particularly if it's something you haven't heard in a while, it can take you back to where you were and like certain memories and stuff that you have, whether it be riding around or if you're kicking in a dorm like me. Um, but yeah, great song. I love that joint. Then we get to track 6. That's the way we like them. This was produced by Marley Marl. What did you think about this song right here?
I mean, it's another jam. This
Mm-hmm.
this is the one where all of them are rapping.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, like Left Eye, Chili and T-Boz are no rappers, but
Right.
they were kind of hanging with her, and you know what I'm saying, they did their thing. I like what each of them were saying. Like at the end of their raps, they all had this little thing, that's the way 90s girls are living. That's the way
Mm-hmm.
T-Boz is living. That's the way Left Eye is living. So it was kind of a chance for them to be showing their individual sides and kind of but rapping. I thought it was dope. And then like
Mm-hmm.
the beat was kind of cool. You can
Oh,
tell it
the
was
beat
like,
was
yeah,
crazy.
the beat was dope. And then at the end is where they announced like everybody that was on the album,
Mm-hmm.
all the producers and everybody like that. And I had, during high school, because by this time we were in high school, we had memorized everybody and everybody had a name. We took students. We were like, okay, you're Molly Mall, you are JD, you're LA and Babyface. We got Pebbles over here, we got KO over here. So we had named everybody, but um it was a dope song. It was cool
Mm-hmm.
to see like if they could hang with Left Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're not up there, but they did
No,
all right. They
no,
did all
no.
right.
They held their own. They held their
Yeah,
own.
yeah, yeah.
This song, I liked it a lot when it came out. Um, the one thing that I didn't like, and that eventually grew on me, but the chorus, it took me a minute to get with the chorus because the chorus, that's the way we like it. I was like, this sounds like a Disney song. I don't know why in my head it sounded like a little Disney tune.
Not a
Just
Disney song.
just the chorus. The chorus sounded like a Disney tune. I was like, why did they have the chorus? But then now it makes sense because the chorus sounds one way, and then the rest of the song you go back to the beat that Marley Marl did. So
True.
um,
True.
but I get why they did it like that. And it took a minute to grow on me, just the hook. But other than the hook, I love the song. Like you said, they were rapping it, and you know, Chili and Left Eye. I mean, Chili and T-Boz, they held their own. You know, they didn't embarrass themselves as far as, I mean, truth be
Right.
told, you know, Left Eye could really rap. Like she was
People
never
sleep on Left Eye.
very much so. Very much so. One of my favorite raps actually leads into track 7. What about your friends? I think this is her best. Is it her best? I think it's some of her best bars on the out, and this right here, I think set Left Eye apart. What did you think about what about your friends?
Another dope song. Like there's
Yeah.
no song on here that I don't like. What About Your Friends again was a single, so
Yes.
it was played a lot, but I actually really liked it. I like the video to it. Usually
Yes.
I'm a visual person, so if I can actually see like what their vision is for the song, it kind of makes me like it more. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, so many when friends would get into it, they'd be, what about your friends? I mean, I've had that a couple of times, like from my friends. I'm like, what did I do?
What?
So you didn't call us on 3-way? What about your friends? Are they gonna be around? I guess you just I was like, oh my goodness, okay. But yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that was like the Mad Girl theme song
Mhm.
back in the day. But yeah, it was dope. It was saying like where are your friends? Like,
Mhm.
are they with you because you got money? Are they with you because whatever? I mean, are they gonna, I guess, kind of telling their story? Now that I have some money, that doesn't mean that I'm different. Just because we're
Right.
kind of stars now doesn't mean that I'm not just a regular person. Like I'm still cool, I'm still down,
Mhm.
but
I'm still
you
me.
think, right, you think this of me. So now it's kind of like now I'm seeming shady or now I'm seeming like I'm not real. And they were just saying like, what about your friends? Are they going to be around? Because when things go down, where are they?
Mhm. Yeah, I loved it. Um, again, this is is this it's hard to say. This is probably my favorite song.
Okay.
This I don't know what it is. It's just the way that it comes on. It is like crazy. And I've this is one of the songs that I remember like when I first moved here in 97. Now obviously this album came out in 1992, but when I moved to Atlanta in 97, I remember being at a club and I remember this being played in a club. And it's not really what you would think is a club song, but when it came on, bruh, everybody went crazy. The girls rushed the floor. It was like people was getting trampled. I was like it was like a stampede because everybody wanted to get on the dance floor. And I just remember that vibe. So a lot of times when I hear this song, I kind of transport back to that memory. But yeah, this is a dope song. I love Left Eye's bars. I think again, and I mentioned a little earlier, I wasn't really, because I listened to Crazy Sexy Cool more than I do this album.
Hmm.
I had forgotten how much she rapped on this album. And I
Yeah.
mean, like, she rapped her ass off on this album. She doesn't rap as much on Crazy Sexy Cool because the songs and the vibes are a little different. She's a little bit
Right.
more toned. And then, she was going through some things, some personal things at the time when they were recording too. So
Right.
I don't necessarily know how much she was around when they were recording that album. But this first album, they made sure that, she got her shit off, and she did. And
Hmm.
you know, the thing that always kind of stands out to me, Jay, is that like when people talk about female MCs, nobody ever mentions Left Eye. And I'm
I
not
was
saying
just
that she
thinking
needs
that.
to. I'm not saying that she needs to be, that she's up there with Queen Latifah and Light and all the stuff like that. But she's never mentioned. And I mean, like, she's got bars. I mean, like, if you go back and listen to some of the stuff and some of the flows that she has on this album, it's better than a lot of the trash that people listen to on a day-to-day basis. You
Hmm.
know, well, I won't say yours, some of you people who are watching and listening, some of your favorite MCs can't rap better than Left Eye.
Okay.
I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean,
It is
just
what
on
it
this
is.
album alone, like I was listening because it's been a minute since I've listened to the
Mhm,
whole album.
mhm,
But I was listening to it before, we were getting ready to record this. But I was
mhm.
like, Left Eye was really spitting. I always thought like she's in my top 10 of rappers,
Okay,
but
okay,
also just because I was obviously because I'm a fan. I think a lot of people leave her out because you don't think of her as, I
right.
guess, like a solo rapper. She's part of TLC, and you just don't correlate that with if you think about a Queen Latifah or MC Light, stuff like that, or Brad or whoever it is that you choose
Or Lauren.
to or Lauren. Lauren stood out because she's the only girl in the two
Right,
guys, so she held her own. So it didn't.
right.
I don't think it really gave Lisa like the spotlight being in TLC, and then of course when
Mhm.
she was trying to go solo, things were cut short. But if people really listen to Left Eye's rhymes,
Yes.
her the one she's done as features on other people's stuff, and then
Mhm.
this album and the other album she's been on, she ain't no joke. Like
No.
she kind of had like that Moni Love type of like fast flow,
Mhm.
especially during this time. But she was dope.
Yeah.
She was dope.
She definitely dropped bars on this one. Then we get to track 8. His story.
Hmm.
What do you think about
Dope.
his story?
I thought it was dope for this album, period. Just the whole message of TLC
Mhm.
coming out the gate. Not only were they in these big, loud, baggy clothes, they were kind of anti like the sexy thing. We're not wearing a bunch of tight stuff. But they were also giving a message. They spoke a
Mhm.
lot about protecting yourself and talked about like a lot of AIDS awareness and STD awareness and things like that. Um, and a lot of times they get banned. I mean, I didn't mention that in the beginning. A lot of people didn't want to book TLC because it was controversial to have condoms all over your body. They didn't
Right.
want them talking about sex. And a lot of times they thought they were too young to talk about sex, not knowing that they were at this time in their 20s. They thought they were like some little kids talking about sex and then they wouldn't get booked for places.
Mhm.
But this one, his story was about domestic violence. um, it was based off a case. This girl's name is Tawana Brawley.
Mhm.
She was 15 years old. I didn't research it deep, but I think what happened was she was kidnapped and raped. They held her for 4 days by these four white men, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm. Yep.
And they didn't believe her. They found her in a trash bag. She had racial slurs written all over her body. Um, she had feces all over her. She was 15, like I said at the time, and sh- she told her story and no one cared. Like no
Mhm.
one listened to her. So this song, his story was about what are they going to believe?
Right.
Like why do we have to fight so hard to have our voices be heard when something like this happens? And this is true today. Like how many times are we talking about like protect black women? Black women's voices are rarely heard. If it's something that we're screaming out about, it's not really taken seriously unless some other people have joined into it. Think about Me Too. Me
Yeah.
Too was started by a black woman. It wasn't until all these other white actresses got into it that it became this phenomenon. Like no one talks about her, but everyone talks about how they took down Harvey Weinstein from,
Mhm.
Rose McGowan. I forgot who it was. I don't want to misquote, but a white lady and white people, white women jumping in on the bandwagon and making it a thing. And you're still forgetting about black women.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's still prevalent today. It's crazy. 30 years later, we're still dealing with the same thing, but it was dope to take time out of just, partying and having fun to like focus on this issue. They felt it was important to mention that was something close to their heart to bring that story up. So it was dope. It was and it was a catchy song.
Yes. Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. It was I'm with you, Jay. I love this song. Um and I think it's perfectly placed. It's in the middle of the album. You're partying, you're having a good time, and then this is actually a heavy song, but it don't necessarily feel heavy. But I just
Mhm.
remember, Jay, I probably heard this song maybe about 3 or 4 times. Because the first couple of times you run through an album, you're listening and you're not really paying. You're listening
Paying
to the beat.
attention, right.
Yeah, you're not really paying
Mhm.
attention. And when she said his story over mine, my story is just a waste of time. That never believe his story. Like, and I was like, because at first I read the title, I was thinking history, like
Mhm.
reading it
Yep.
out, and I was like, and then when I started listening to what she was saying, I was like, wow. And then I just kind of put myself in that position where, like, you're thinking, okay, from a woman's perspective, yeah, it's tough. I mean, nobody wants to have something happen to them, and then you tell people what happened, and nobody believes you. You
Mhm.
know, and I was very familiar with the Toronto Brawley case. At the time, I know Reverend Al Sharpton got involved, and Reverend Al's reputation at the time um, wasn't what it is today. I mean, he was vilified in the media. And keep in mind, this is, like Jay said, this is no social media. So, Tawana
Mhm.
Brawley's case, just imagine all of the things that you described happening, and there's no Twitter to report it or whatever like that. And I mean, like, so, and there's still people to this day that believe that she lied about the whole thing. So, um, for them to put that in their record, on their first record, again, this
Mhm.
you're taking a chance because you can piss some people off.
Right.
And I thought that was a risk, and it was beautifully crafted, and one of the better songs I think on. And like you said, Jay, not too many. There's not a lot of skips on this album if you haven't if you haven't figured it out by now. Um, but yeah, I love that joint. So
Like
um,
this song was the last song on the first side of the
yep,
tape.
yep.
So it kind of ended this, that run of songs. And then you turn it over and you get to the party stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was
So
smart on their part too,
yeah,
to like
yeah.
end it on that, and like you said, have it in the middle of the album or the last song, if you have a tape, the last song on that side, and then
Because
now
it
you're
leaves you with something. It leaves you with
right.
something, and it gives you something to think about when you're flipping the tape over, young people.
Mhm. Yep.
And we get to track 9, which is an intermission, another skit as well.
Mhm.
Um, Another good one.
Yep.
And then track 10, Bad by Myself, produced by Jermaine Dupri. Tell me
Mhm.
about Bad by Myself.
I always call this T-Boz's theme song. I don't know. It's just something about the way she was singing it. It's just
Oh, she
like,
was
I can do
on.
bad by myself. I don't need you. If you're gonna bring me down, why do I need you? I can do bad by my own self. I
By
don't
my
need
damn self.
right. The skit before it was like she's trying to be with her man and hanging out and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And he's like, no, I got stuff to do. I don't want you going. Oh, I want to go to the club. And then she gets a call from Left Eye saying, hey, we got to go to the studio. And then he's like, oh, you got to go
I
to the
was gonna take you to
studio.
the club.
I was going to take you to the club. Oh, really? Slaps him, takes his car, goes to the studio. And then you come in with Bad by Myself. Like,
Hmm.
I don't have time for these games. Like, again, it's the assertiveness that you didn't really get to hear from a female's perspective. So it was I loved it. And it's funky. Like the
Hmm.
T-Boz had this, they always talked about like the funk, the straight R&B, and then hip hop was the rap part that Left Eye brought. And T-Boz was really good at that. Prince was one of her idols, one of her mentors and things like that. So you could really tell like in her song, they just fit. So to have
Hmm.
her leading that off, it was dope.
Yeah, I love this joint. This was I don't think it's the first thing that I heard Jermaine Dupri produce, but it's probably one of the first songs that I heard him produce at that
Mhm.
level. And it's got a bounce to it. And like you said, I think the intro leading into the song, is perfect. And then what she's talking about, yeah, she can do bad by herself. Like, I don't need you to bring me down.
Right.
If it's about you bringing me down, then
Right.
I'd rather be by myself. And yeah, I love that joint, man. It's funny because I remember going back and listening to it. I was like, oh, I remember this. I was like, oh, because like I said, listening to it, I made sure that I didn't look at the track, so I was waiting to see what was coming on next. And when that came on,
Mhm.
I was like, it just took me back. I was like, man, I remember this joint like it was yesterday.
And Left Eye's
Um,
rhyme on this.
Yep. Oh,
Another
she spit
another dope bars. Some more dope
bars,
bars.
bars. Then we get to track 11, Something You Want to Know, which is a slower joint.
Hmm.
Um, I was feeling this. What was your take on this one?
I mean, it's my jam. Like when you just say something when something you want to know, like I start smiling because this was one of two Left Eye features
Hmm.
where it was just her. It was her
Yep.
finally in the driver's seat. It was like T-Boz and Left Eye were her kind of back. I mean T-Boz and Left Eye. T-Boz and Chili were her background. It was her
Hmm.
song. And it was dope. It's kind of like a little love song. Like if you it's
Yep.
something you want to know, like just come ask me. Like if you've heard rumors, if you heard something that I did, just come tell me. Don't tell everybody else. Don't be mad
Hmm.
at me for no reason. Come talk to me. But it was dope to hear her rhyming on like a
Yes.
slow
Yes.
song,
Yes.
kind of like a love song. It was like I need love
I
type
need love.
vibes, you know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it was dope to hear that. And I was happy to have her standing out on her own because she deserved to have a little shine as well on the album because you it was so T-Boz forward and Chili on every hook and all the time. And you Left Eyes just coming in between the songs. So to have her stand out and kind of tell the story at the same time, it was dope.
Yeah, I agree. I think them giving her chance. I mean, not that she was, not that they were gonna overshine her or whatever like that, but
Right.
just them giving her a chance to just like you said, be in the driver's seat, and she didn't disappoint. I mean, like I
Right.
said, Left Eye on this. I got to go back to something I said a little earlier. Like I had forgotten how much rapping she was doing, and like you said earlier, it was mostly on up tempo songs, but to hear her on a slower joint, that was really for old school cat like me, like that's really up our wheelhouse because when guys started rapping over slower beats or love songs, if you will, it takes you back to the LLs and the heavy D's and
Hmm.
songs like that. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And I still, you know, I think personally, I think this was a perfect setup for the next song, which was track 12, Baby, Baby, Baby. They did a video you
Hmm.
mentioned. I think they shot it at Spelman.
Hmm.
What did you think about Baby, Baby, Baby?
I mean, it's my all-time favorite TLC song. Like, I think it's just because of the nostalgia. Like, that's what made me like start liking them for real, like become a real fan. So,
Hmm.
like, it's a slow jam. I mean, I think Babyface, if I'm not mistaken, he produced this or wrote
Yep.
it or whatever.
Babyface and LA
But
Reid.
it's
Yep.
dope. Like it's a lot of people will talk about like T-Boz and her voice or if she can carry a song or whatever. But I mean, I just thought this was dope. Like the way she was singing, it was still like people think it's like people consider it to be like a slow jam.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? From this like weird hip hop group that no one could like really understand what was going on with them. But it was I love it. I mean, I don't even really have the words for it because I can just hear it playing in my head. It's that beat, boom, boom,
Dun,
boom,
dun,
boom,
dun,
boom, boom,
dun, dun.
doo, 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 and you just go, you start going, and she comes in, and it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to say where I place this, but this is one of my favorite songs. What's one of my favorite TLC songs, period. Uh Once the video came out, I was done. It was a wrap. I was like, yo, and it's funny because and shout out to my boy Eclectic, our boy Eclectic.
I hear him
Um,
talk about that a lot.
yeah, he said
Yeah.
that he saw this video, and because in the video T-Boz had on a Grambling hoodie, he thought that she went to Grambling. So
Yeah.
that's how he ended up going to Grambling because he thought she was
Hmm.
going to school there. And like he literally saw the video and he filled out an application when he went on a college tour at Grambling and said, "Hey, I'm going to school there." And it's funny because until he had told me that story, I never knew how he got to Grambling from
Mm.
Ohio. But shout out to E. And
Shout out.
but yeah, once I saw the video, it was a wrap. I was like, because I don't know at that point, I don't know how you could listen to TLC and not be a fan,
Right.
and as far as the dudes, like we were just like they were so sexy in that video, all three of them. So it was like, yo, like that video was like must see TV for us.
Really?
And
I mean,
Yes.
obviously, I didn't get that. I just thought they were dope.
Well, I mean,
Like,
you
look at my
listening.
group.
Yeah,
But
you looking at your group. We're looking at the women. We're looking at the women. T-Boz come with a little short haircut. And you know what, because see, think about it like this, Jay.
Mhm,
I'm a little bit older than you, right? Just a little
mhm.
bit older, a little bit more seasoned.
Okay.
So I was in college when this came out. I was at South Carolina
Ah,
State.
okay.
So when T-Boz comes with the short haircut, Jay, every girl had a short
They
haircut.
did. It was her and Halle Berry.
Yes. Girls were
And Tony
going,
Braxton.
they were going to the salons like, yo, give me the T-Boz. They
Mhm.
wasn't looking at the number 7 on the wall. They were trying to get the T-Boz. I'm telling you, that's what it was. I knew so many girls that had the T-Boz joint.
Mm.
And it was, now you had to have the right head for it. You couldn't have no block head. If you had a block head, the T-Boz cut wasn't rocking with you.
Ooh.
And we had a couple of blockhead girls, but I still love them, because we went to school together. So it's all love. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know who you are. But
Oh my
but
gosh.
but yeah, I was Jay, I was done. I was like, yo, this is incredible. Like if I didn't know any better, I probably would have thought they were at Gremlin too. So but yeah, I love their joint. Like I said, that's probably I don't is it it's hard to say it's my favorite TLC song, but it's up there. It's up there.
Mhm, mhm.
And then we get the track 13. This is how it should be done. Again, produced by Marley Marl. What did you think
Mhm.
about this one?
It felt nostalgic, and I guess it was because of Marley Marl, like, just the
Mm-hmm.
way he produced, but again, another Left Eye feature, like, it was her
Mm-hmm.
song,
Yep. Just let her rock.
and it was, even though it felt old school, I enjoyed it because it was telling the story of how TLC became TLC. Like, it talked
Mm-hmm.
about how she was in Philly and how she was trying to perform, and she would write rhymes and her homie would dance, and she would come up with these songs, and it just wasn't quite hitting in Philly. So she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Where can I go? Where can I go? What's up and coming right now? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
let me go to Atlanta." Go
Yep.
to Atlanta. They get on LaFace. She meets, well, they don't get on LaFace yet. She meets T-Boz through a friend. They start this group with Crystal. What I already said,
Chris.
Crystal got kicked out. I
I
think
wonder what Crystal's
LA.
doing these days.
I don't know. She has to be kicking herself a little
Yeah.
bit. She might
Shout
she
out to
might be
Chris.
where the old Destiny's Child members are.
Right.
But she they get chilly and stuff, and they start, becoming TLC, but each verse tells a little bit more of the
Mm-hmm.
story. And now she's like, now we're a group and now we're about to take off. Not
Right.
knowing that, yes, they actually did. Like, they took off
Mm-hmm.
like crazy. But
Like they were
I
headed to
thought it was
start.
dope just to hear from her perspective how things started, because she is kind of the brainchild, like I said, of TLC. Like, people think, T-Boz is quote unquote the boss,
Mm-hmm.
but Left Eye is kind of like the ideas girl. She's the one that came
Right.
up with, like, let's dress like this, or let's do this, or let's try this song. So it's sad that she's not here anymore, to see kind of the fruit of their labor and stuff like that. But um it's dope to hear from her perspective, like I said, how they started and how they became a group.
Yeah, it's definitely sad that she's no longer here. Um, I remember when she died, I was actually living here in Atlanta,
Oof.
and so I remember having the I remember them having a funeral here, and
Mm,
it was crazy. But yeah,
man.
Left Eye just I thought on this joint she was dope. She was dope again. I mean, her ability to tell stories, and I don't know if it was kind of foreshadowing, but for her to kind of basically tell their story, their road to success, if you will,
Hmm.
before in essence
They
getting
hit it.
success,
Right, right.
says a lot about, them and her as well. And you're right. It does speak to her being the brainchild of TLC. Um, and then the last track, "Depend on Myself," produced by Dallas Austin. What did you think about that one?
Um, Again, I mean, I like that it was the end song. It kind of
Mhm.
ended the album on a good note. It was kind of similar to Bad by Myself. It kind of told the same kind of story. I can depend on myself. I don't need nobody else to be on my back like that. To be on my back like that. That's what they say on it. And again, it was just dope. I appreciate when I was listening to this album. I was like, they really branded themselves well on this album for
Very
it to be
well.
their debut album. The name of the album was Ooh on the TLC Tip. I think they said it hundreds of times throughout
Yes.
different songs. They started with it, they ended with it. They said it in different Left Eye said it in different verses. They've said it on different songs. So it's like it made you, keep in your head, oh, this is Ooh on the TLC Tip, Ooh on the TLC Tip. This is the TLC Tip.
Mhm.
Just it was genius when you think about it, because that's something that sticks in your head. And if you were a fan or you listened to the album, it kind of made you want to go back and listen to it or just remember it. And obviously, like I said, it set them up for huge success because their next
Yes.
album just went bananas.
Yes.
But the song, yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite on the album, but it's definitely, I don't, like I said, I don't have a song that I don't like on the
Mhm.
album, but it kind of, like I said, reminds me of Bad by Myself. So it's kind of repetitive, but it's still dope and a good way to end the album.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Right out of my mouth.
Mhm.
It's a great way to end the album because I think it's at that point where the album should end. And sometimes artists, throw a couple of songs that they probably shouldn't throw on there. But this right here is a good ending to the album. And I think for me, having a tape is like, oh, we're at the end, you know.
Mhm.
But and then we get to track 15, which was the conclusion, which
The
where
outro,
Left
yeah.
Eyes, the outro, where she's talking about, safe sex and things of that nature. And I think that's something that kind of gets lost in in them taking off, was that they were bashed in the media, for having condoms on their clothes and stuff like that. But if you actually listen to them, they promoted safe sex. They
Mhm.
promoted, you know, AIDS
Protection is a
prevention.
priority. That's what
Yeah,
they used to say.
protection is a priority. AIDS prevention, and there
Mhm.
weren't a. I'm gonna be honest. There weren't a lot of people talking about AIDS. And then, now, keep in mind, this album comes out February 25th, 1992. Well, just a couple months prior, in November of 1991, Magic Johnson tells the world that he has HIV.
Mhm.
So there was a time where it was like right after Magic announced that, and I remember because I was in college, and it was crazy. I did a podcast on it,
Mhm.
and I just remember like there was this big push about, oh, well, if you're gonna have sex, well, first they were talking about, people being abstinent, which, I
Right.
mean, in
That
reality,
wasn't
it
a
wasn't gonna
right.
happen.
Right.
That wasn't gonna happen. But it's like, if you're gonna have sex, have safe sex. And e- everybody got behind that movement and that idea. And then here they come with the condoms, but that was, like you said, to get your attention. But if you listen to the message, if you listen to them in interviews, and I distinctly remember these are some of the things that they talked about, because they were going to ask them, okay, well, hey, Left Eye, why do you have a condom over your eye? Well, I have a condom because it represents this right here, and this is what we're about. And again, they weren't doing it for show. It wasn't just to kind of put it in your face. This was a part of what they were marketing and promoting, and I thought they did a great job. But I think if you were around in that era, you also saw them get bashed for it, because because they were women. Let's just keep it a bean. Um,
Yep.
and it was okay for any male artist to, you know, promote abstinence or promote safe sex. But it's the first time a woman come out there with three attractive women at that, three attractive black women saying,
Mhm.
hey, let's protect ourselves, ladies, take care of your body, make sure you don't let nobody take advantage of you, so forth. Just saying stuff that really is just common sense.
Mhm.
But, men in particular bashed them for it. And again, there wasn't no social media around, but had there been back then, oh, they would have gotten killed. I mean, that it really, I'll put it like this. And you may not remember this because you were a little bit younger, but the backlash that they got from some of this stuff, because I remember at one point in time, I don't know if it was a rumor or if it actually came to be, but Left Eye wanted to put she wanted to put like a big a condom like over her breast or whatever like that. And MTV said, if you do it, we're going to blur it out out of your video.
Mhm.
And so she ended up doing it, but it was much smaller. So
Mhm.
and in the video shots, you're moving so fast that you're not, it's
You
there,
don't
but you don't
catch
know
it.
what. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't catch it. But she wanted to put one on that was big enough for the whole world to see. And MTV said, well, yeah, okay, well, if you do that, we're gonna blur it out. And it's like, I'm doing this to help people. I'm not doing this to, I'm not
Mhm.
taking off my clothes.
Right.
So I thought that message at the end of the album was perfect, and a great conclusion to the album. I love this album. I mean, obviously JBoog loves this album.
Yes, it's history.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it goes without saying, like it's been great to revisit. One thing I always do on these podcasts when we talk about, albums that have come and gone, or albums, hitting those 20, 30-year marks. From the hip hop side, we give them mics. We say, okay, well,
Mhm.
hey, how many mics would you give this album? So, JBoog, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
There's five. There's 5 mics that you can give them, up to
Okay.
5 mics.
Okay.
If you were scoring this album from the hip hop sources perspective, meaning 5 albums is a classic, 4.5 superior, 4 is dope, 3 is good, I think, and then like 2 is whack. How many albums would you give this album? I mean, how many mics would you give this
You,
album?
I mean, look, you already know I'm giving this 5 mics because nobody was doing it like this.
Yes.
It was actually successful. They were innovative, they were educational, they were confident, and they were showing like a different side of women that a lot of people hadn't seen. And they commanded and demanded respect, and they got it.
Facts.
So
Facts.
this is a classic album. I don't care if no one else believes or feels that way, but it's not too many people's debut albums coming on the scene that gave this much, that projected this much, or um, really set their artists up. You'll hear about some debut albums and they did good. They got a couple of spots and they were good. Their second album, that's where people really know them. But
Right.
people knew TLC from Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Yes.
And as we talked about before, the production on it, you got heavy hitters on there. These people are vouching for these women, and they have the talent to back it up. So I have to give it a 5. I have to give my group a 5. I can't. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, if I didn't feel like maybe further down the road, we might not have all 5 mics, but this one is 5 mics.
Yeah, I'm rolling with you. This one's 5 for me too. I think it's I can't compare it to Crazy Sexy Cool because I think these two stand alone. I mean, on their own. And Crazy Sexy Cool holds a different place in my heart because, like I said, it was the first CD that I bought. But Ooh on the TLC Tip is so good, and I'm glad that we did this review because it gave me a chance to go back and listen to some songs I hadn't heard. Like I said, I hadn't run this album all the way through probably in about 5 years, and that's a long time music wise. But it just reminded me of how dope it was and how TLC, how they were when they came onto the scene, and how they took all of us by storm. And Left Eye left us, but she is definitely not forgotten. And I've actually been at parties, a couple of house parties here in Atlanta with T-Boz and Chili.
Oh, okay. Well, 6 degrees of separation because I've been around T-Boz and Chili as well.
Of course.
No, for real. In real life, I know I joke, but in real life, I met Chili and T-Boz. This was after Left Eye had passed away.
Okay.
But it was actually for an AIDS awareness panel they were doing. It was pretty cool because, well, I lied and said I was sick because I couldn't get off work. And I was like, no, I said somebody else was sick and I had to go to them. And this is when I was living in Houston, and they were doing it at this community center, like in the hood of Houston. I worked way out, so it was like an hour away.
Oh wow.
But I drove. I was like, okay, I'm I've got to go check on somebody, or who, I forget who I said, cousin or somebody like that. But I'll be at work as soon as I can, because I didn't think TLC was really going to show. I just heard they might, and I don't even know
Mhm.
how I heard it, because it wasn't. I think on the radio they said there
Okay.
was going to
Had
be
to be.
this
Had to
this
be.
thing going on, and T-Boz and Chili were going to be there, because they were still, during that time, still talking about safe sex and things like that. And they had this whole thing. All these people talk. Never saw T-Boz and Chili until the very end. They walk in. I lose my mind. They talk. After the thing, I run up to them, and T-Boz really wasn't feeling. This is like right after Left Eye had passed. So
Okay. Okay.
I understand why she really wasn't like trying to be around fans. She said hi and wave, but then, she got in the car. Chili came and gave us hugs and stuff. I had wrote something about Left Eye's passing or whatever, a poem, and I gave that to Chili or whatever. We took a picture. But yeah, that was just that few seconds of
Mhm.
like meeting them and then seeing them talk on this panel and stuff, was dope. I just wish I could have met them prior to
Yeah.
losing
Yeah.
Left Eye, but I'm blessed to have seen them. And they really are short. They're
Yeah.
really
No,
little.
they're not tall. They're not
They're
tall at
super
all.
little.
They're not tall at all. They're very petite women.
Mhm.
Um, I was at a house party on two occasions actually. I was at a
Okay.
house party, and they both were there, and I spoke,
Okay.
and that was about it. I don't get like starstruck and nothing like that. So I was just like, hey, how
Because
you doing?
Kyle's cool. He ain't like me.
I mean, I mean, because
Yeah.
it's like they're in the party, and I mean, well, I'll put it like this: at that particular time, like Tion was dating Takeo Spikes, former NFL player, and I want to
Mm.
say this was I think she had already divorced Mac 10, I
Mac
think.
10. Okay. This is after Mac
So
10. All right.
so this party had to be like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe. Um, and just I spoke and chatted a little bit, just small talk. Now
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even on some, hey, you're T-Boz, or hey, you're Chili. It
Yeah.
wasn't even on. It was they came in the party two different times, and our paths just crossed, and I just you make eye contact with
Yeah.
people, and you just say what's up.
In that kind of environment, yeah, you don't want to be fanning
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
during
Because
something
it's
like
like
that. Yeah.
it's a huge house party, and it might have been like 200 people there, two maybe
Mm.
250. So mad. It
Mm.
was a Super Bowl party. That's what it was. A Super Bowl party.
Mm.
Um, and I'm just the little guy, so I'm just over there in the cut. I don't even have a podcast. I'm just over there chilling. And but it was cool. It was cool. They both were real cool. And I think at the time, I want to say Chili was dating Usher. Um, and it was funny because Jermaine Dupri came to that party that night, and I ignored him. Like everybody was like, "Man, JD's." I was like, "Who
Okay.
cares?" I was
Right.
like, "I don't care." I don't care about no Jermaine Dupri. I was like, "Chili's here." So, but anyway, that's my little story about that. But yeah, but they're really cool, and living here in Atlanta, I mean, you're gonna run into people like that from time to time. I just happen to be in the same circle at one
Mhm.
point. Um, but before we get out of here, Jay, please tell folks where they can find you, where they can hear your podcast, where they can check you out on social media, because folks need to check out the podcast.
Right. Well, before we get to that real quick,
Okay.
because I told you I had a couple of trinkets
Yes.
that
Yes.
I was going to show the audience. So well, we're talking about 5 mics. And again, my light might be, I'm going to move it over here. This is a Source magazine
Hmm.
that I kept. This is the original. I bought this June 1992, and it
Wow. Is that
has
still in the
TLC.
plastic?
Well, when I bought it, I put it in a protector,
Okay.
like a
Okay.
little,
Look at you,
you used to
fancy.
write those
Yeah.
reports. So you had the little report
Yeah.
protector. So I put it in that so I wouldn't rip it up, because I was planning on keeping it forever. And look, 30 years later, here we
Wow.
are.
Because you knew 30 years from then that you were going to be on my podcast.
Look at that. Look at that. But in this, when you were talking about AIDS, and I just had the page, how it was prevalent during that time. Let me see if I can get to it, because they asked them about that. They said, AIDS is killing too many people, and it's killing us Black women at an alarmingly fast rate. And then Left Eye says, it's just a simple trip to the drugstore. but everyone seems to think it won't happen to me. Chili says unprotected sex is the same thing with drugs. Yeah, I can try one time, just one more time. T-Boz says, but we all still get a lot of negative feedback for talking about condoms. Our thing is, if you're having sex, you should have safe sex. We show condoms because we're trying to make it hip. People are having sex without condoms because it goes to the next page. Sorry. Because they're embarrassed or ashamed. Girls, especially, they're like, TLC is bold. Shoot, if they can wear them on their clothes, I can buy them. And then Left Eye says, it's so crazy. All of the things the girls have to buy. Why would you be ashamed? I remember my first time I had to buy a pad. Oh my goodness, girls. Sometimes I would beg my ex-boyfriend to go get them for me. But kind of what they were saying is the reason why we do this is because we want it to be cool. We don't want people to be embarrassed and not protect themselves because they're worried about what someone may say. So they were trailblazers in that. But yeah, I thought that was dope to have found this magazine in my box of stuff as we're talking about TLC and stuff like that. And off air, I'll show you what was getting 5 mics back then in '92. I'm sure you like to hear that. And
I'm sure.
I was part of TLC, so I had this shirt. It's old. It used to be white. It's not anymore. This was the Looney Tunes version
TLC.
of
Wow.
TLC.
Wow, look
it's
at that.
super huge. I think it's like a double XL, but that's how we wore our shirts back then.
Oh yeah, one big,
but
real big.
I wore this probably in 9th grade because I don't even know why I kept this shirt. Probably because it was TLC. I have a lot of paraphernalia.
And it's a double XL. You'll
There.
never be a double XL. So.
I won't. But yeah, so I'm Jay from Jay's Quick 3. Kyle, thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem.
On my podcast, I just pick 3 topics randomly, just whatever I'm feeling during that time. Talk about it from my own point of view. I can talk about news, I'll talk about personal things, but I really love talking about music and entertainment. I've had Kyle on a couple of times. Shout out to Doug. He's been on my podcast a few times. Autumn the Aries, who is my podcast sensei, as I call her. But I have a few guests on there. I'm a solo podcaster though. I am also 1/5 of the podcast Happy Hour, which is myself, Autumn the Aries, who I just named, Chris from Shenanigans with Friends, Audrey from Odd Tales, and Tamra. I have to say that from Tamra to the Break of Dawn. We come together once a month and we just give y'all a little peek of what we do on a daily basis. But yeah, come check me out at Jay's Quick 3 Pod on Twitter, or you can go to jaysquick3pod.com and find everything else there. But thank you, Kyle, again.
No
this
problem.
This was dope. I felt at home. I felt seen. I felt like somebody was seeing me once.
I told you, you a former member. We had to get you on for this one because who better than you knows about this group. But yeah, make sure that you check out her podcast. Your podcast comes out every other Friday.
Yep, every other Friday.
And for some reason, I'll be looking for it every Friday. But
sometimes if I'm feeling it, I'll put out another episode. Like I'll put out a bonus in between that time. But that's why you guys should subscribe. And you'll just get that notification when I drop. But normally it's every other Friday, and then sometimes I'll drop bonuses whenever I feel like it.
No doubt. Well, you guys have been listening long enough. You know that the 12 Kyle podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time this year, we will drop bonus episodes on Sunday. So it's important, like Jay just said, it's important that you subscribe. This podcast can be found on all podcast readers, every platform you can think of, christianmingle.com.
Not Christian Mingle.
It's on farmers.com. It's on all of the sites. But nonetheless, make sure that you also subscribe to the YouTube channel too, because when I have guests on, a lot of times, and sometimes when I'm flying solo, I will put all of the podcasts will be on YouTube, but when I have guests on, or if I'm flying solo, sometimes the video will be open, so the cameras will be on, and you'll actually be able to see and hear what we're talking about. But that's going to do it for us again. On the TLC tip, 30 years later. That's going to do it for us. So for JBoog, I'm your man 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Peace.